Welcome to MRL. In this learning session, let us learn about ratio and proportion. Now first let us understand what is a ratio. Ratio is a method of comparison of two quantities by division, or a method of comparison of two quantities by division is called as a ratio. Or ratio is the comparison of two quantities of the same kind and in the same unit. Ratio shows how many times one quantity is smaller or greater than the other quantity. For example, we have two weights here, 10 kgs and 5 kgs. We can find the difference, 10 kgs minus 5 kgs. It means that 10 kgs is 5 kgs more than 5 kgs. So this is a comparison by difference. And also we can express this as a fraction, that is 10 kgs by 5 kgs is 2, or 10 is to 5, 10 is to 5 is 2 is to 1. It means that 10 kgs is 2 times that of 5 kg weight. So this is how a ratio can be used to compare two quantities of the same kind and in the same unit. Remember, ratio is a mere number, it has no unit. Now the general form of ratio, if A and B are two quantities, the ratio is A is to B. In a ratio, there are two terms A and B, and the symbol of ratio is two dots placed one above the other. A is the first term and is called antecedent, B is the second term and is called consequent. Ratio in its simplest form. If A is to B is the ratio, then dividing A and B by their HCF gives the ratio in its simplest form. For example, 12 is to 16 is the ratio. So if you find the HCF of 12 and 16, it is 4. Divide 12 by 4 and 16 by 4, we get 3 is to 4, which is the simplest form of the ratio, 12 is to 16. Now let us take one more example. 1 integer 2 by 3 is a mixed fraction, 4 by 5 is a simple fraction or a proper fraction. Now to find the ratio of this, first to convert this into improper fraction. So 3 1 are 3 plus 2 is 5 by 3 and 4 by 5. Find the LCM of 3 and 5. Multiply the LCM on both the sides. We get 5 by 3 into 15, 4 by 5 into 15. So 3 5 is 15, 5 5 is 25 and 4 3 is 12. So the ratio of these two is 25 is to 12. So that is how we write the simplest form of any given ratio. Now one more example. If you want to find the ratio of rupees 6 and 50 paise, first convert the rupees 6 into paise, because we have to express both of them in the same unit. Both antecedent and the consequent should have the same unit. Therefore 6 rupees becomes 600 paise and is to 50 paise. Now divide by the HCF of this. So divide by 50 on both the sides, we get 6 into 100 divided by 50. 50 divided by 50, we get 6 into 2 is to 1. So 12 is to 1. So 12 is to 1 is the simplest form of this ratio, therefore is in the simplest form. Now 2.4 is to 0.36. These are two decimal values here. Convert the decimal 2.4 as a fraction, 24 by 10, and 0.36 as 36 by 100. Multiply by 100 on both the sides, we get 24 into 10 is to 36. Again we find that 24 into 10 is to divided by 12 on both the sides, because 12 is the HCF. When we divide, we get 2 into 10 and is to 3, that is 20 is to 3. So this is how we convert ratio in its simplest form. Now equivalent ratios. Multiplying the terms of a ratio by the same non-zero number forms equivalent ratios. For example, 2 is to 10 is a ratio. Multiply by 2 on both the sides, we get 4 is to 20, which is the equivalent ratio of 2 is to 10. If you multiply by 3, we get 6 is to 30 again, which is the equivalent ratio of 2 is to 10. So 2 is to 10, 4 is to 20, 6 is to 30 are equivalent ratios. Even 1 is to 5 is an equivalent ratio. Therefore remember, when written in simplest forms, we have the same represent ratio. So therefore, to know whether they are equivalent ratios or not, simplify them. Here it is 2 is to 10 becomes 1 is to 5, 4 is to 20 becomes 1 is to 5, 6 is to 30 becomes 1 is to 5. All have the same simplest ratio or the ratio in the simplest form, and therefore all of the three are equivalent ratios. Remember that. Now comparison of ratios, 198 is to 90 and 72 is to 36 has to be compared, and comparison means to find out which is greater and which is smaller. So let us understand this. 198 is to 90. If you take convert it into a fraction, it becomes 198 by 90, and simplify it, we get 11 by 5. So that is 11 by 5 is the value of 198 is to 90. Similarly, 72 is to 36 can be converted into a fraction, 72 by 36. Now simplify by dividing by the HCF, we get 10 by 5. So we have 11 by 5 and 10 by 5 here, 11 by 5 and 10 by 5. Compare, since the denominators are same, compare the numerators, that is 11 is greater than 10, therefore 11 by 5 is greater than 10 by 5, and 11 by 5 being greater, 198 is to 90 is greater than 72 is to 36. Therefore remember, we can compare the ratios, or ratios can be compared by converting them into fractions and converting them into like fractions, and then comparing the numerators, which we have learnt in the comparison of fractions. Remember that. Now dividing a quantity in a given ratio. If a quantity x is to be divided in the ratio a is to b, then the method is very simple. Then the first quantity is a divided by a plus b. We have to take the sum of that. A divided by a plus b into x is the first quantity, and the second quantity is b divided by a plus b into x, that is the second quantity. If you take an example, let us say we have to divide 2,40,000 in the ratio 3 is to 2. So the first share will be 3 divided by 3 plus 2, that is 5. 3 divided by 5 into 2,40,000 becomes 48,000, and multiply by 3 we get 144,000. So 1,44,000 so is the first share. The second share will be again 2 divided by 3 plus 2 into 2,40,000. 2 divided by 5 into 2,40,000 becomes 2 into 48,000, that is 96,000. That is what is the division of 2,40,000 into two shares. First share is 1,44,000, second share is 96,000. When we add both of them, we get 2,40,000, and that is the method of dividing a given quantity in a given ratio. Remember that.